No single event better embodies our nation's unquenchable thirst for craft beer than the Great American Beer Festival. Since 1982, the nation's top brewers have convened in Colorado to host one giant tasting party. 578 breweries served 1-ounce samples of more than 2,700 brews this year, and Boulder Week we talked with some of the brewers whose beers in various ways managed to stand out.
Yeah, what we do at Prism Brewing Company is we just take an ordinary beer, we just put a little bit of a twist on it. We're not trying to be the average Joe Soda's of beer, but we refuse to make an ordinary beer.
Lots of breweries experiment with non-traditional ingredients, but few embrace them as much as Prism Brewing Company from North Wales, Pennsylvania.
The Party Pale Ale, it's actually a pale ale that's brewed with 30 pounds of black tea. It almost tastes like iced tea. It's actually pretty killer. We do everything from strawberry jalapeno on a brown ale. We have a Pilsner that we put pineapple in. So, like I said, we just do crazy things.
Next, we headed to River North Brewery from Denver, where they exclusively use Belgian yeast.
You guys make a lot of beers with Belgian yeast, but they're not Belgian beers. Does that cause any difficulties? Does that create any things you guys have to alter when you make the beer?
As far as recipe-wise, not really. The reason we chose to focus on Belgian yeast is it can lend a lot of additional flavors and esters that are produced solely from the yeast. It just sort of adds an extra layer of complexity to beers. So we'll do a traditional Belgian beer like a Saison or a Wit or a Quadruple. But then we can also take an American-style beer like a double IPA and brew it with Belgian yeast. It just sort of sets it apart from the rest.
Jazz has Ornette Coleman, art has Jackson Pollock, and craft beer has Avery Brewing Company. We had to check in and see what they brought to the table at Beer Fest. We ended up getting a science lesson.
So on a high-gravity beer, you have a lot of what's called osmotic stress. That means there's a lot of sugar that comes from the grain that's in your wort that's then fermented in the beer. When you have a high amount of sugar, the yeast that's trying to ferment that beer is under a lot of stress. So it takes a little bit longer to ferment. It's a little trickier. You have to watch it more closely. You have to watch the yeast viability, make sure they're not dying off, make sure they perform well, and they don't produce any off flavors. And that's what we do on a regular basis. So we actually have two beers that are sour. It's called Oud Floris and Odio Equum. One's a raspberry sour and one's a Flemish red. And we're pouring both at GABF this week. So they're intentionally infected or dosed, I guess you'd say, with bacteria. Normally that's a very bad thing for beer. They actually go really fast. Sours are very popular right now. It's a hot item for craft beer right now.
Stone Brewing Company wants its customers to enjoy not just the best beer possible, but at the right time as well. Freshness is key, and it's the inspiration for their Enjoy by IPA.
People are loving beer these days. There's no question about that, right? This is a beautiful thing. People are loving to cellar beers. For some beer styles, that's a really awesome thing. Some people, however, are deciding to squirrel away cellar beers that are, nice big uber hoppy IPAs, and some other styles that really just shouldn't be cellared. They should be enjoyed right away. So I thought with the Stone Enjoy by IPA, let's force the issue and sort of tell everybody, the exact same message, which would be, here's the date, very clear, right up front on the bottle, when you should enjoy it by, in order to have the best experience.
Great American Beer Festival draws almost 50,000 beer enthusiasts and invites them to drink their way towards happiness, 1 ounce at a time. We had some of those in attendance to tell us what Beer Fest is all about.
Heaven. Community. Beer. I mean, it's that simple.
Awesomeness.
Creativity.
The variety here is just incredible. You can go and you can get anything you want, from pumpkin ales to sours to Belgians.
I've been biting off everyone's pretzels.
Amazingness. That's what it's all about.
Alcohol. Drink as much as you can, to get as faded as you can, and live up life, you know what I mean? That's all there is to it.
I have a World War I aviators hat on.
Woo! Awesomeness.
Great beer.
It's my #1 vacation of the year.
Awesome beer.
Sexual tension.
Beautiful. What does the princess think?
I saved the princess back in 1989 on my video game.
It's incredible. A lot of fun.